All right, guys, so now I'm going to show you fraction examples. I'm going to do a few of these with you. So the first fraction example will be 1/2 times e equals 1/4. Okay, so for these, what would be the opposite of multiplying times a half? You would probably tell me dividing by a half. So we would divide by a half. Well, what happens when we divide a fraction by a fraction? Like if I divide something by a half, what really happens? I end up flipping it and multiplying. So that's what we're going to go straight to. So instead of, I'll get a scratch sheet of paper. Instead of, don't write this down. You can write this part. Instead of doing divided by 1/2, divided by 1/2 on both sides, that looks kind of funny because that's a fraction with a fraction bar and another fraction. That can get confusing for kids. And really what we would end up doing is crossing this out and having e equals 1/4 divided by a half. And we really wouldn't even do that, would we? We would end up with e equals 1/4 times 2 over 1 because we flip the second fraction and multiply. And then we'd finish it and get our answer 2/4 and simplify it. Well, we skip all this stuff right here and do a shortcut. It's called multiplying by an inverse, okay? An inverse is just a flipped, kind of like a reciprocal, a flipped fraction or an opposite. So we're going to multiply by the inverse. So instead of doing dividing by a half, we're just going to take it and we're going to do the dot for times 2 over 1. And whatever I do to one side, I'm going to do that to the other side. If I'm losing you when we're done, rewatch the video again and see. And I'm going to do a few more examples too. Okay, so 2 times 1 is 2. 1 times 2 is 2. That's 2 over 2, right? Which is just what? 1. So what we end up doing is just crossing all these out because it ends up equaling 1e, and that's e equals, and then the answer to this, which is 2/4. And so e equals 1/2. Okay, and that is our answer. So let's try another example. 2/5 g equals 3/5. So rather than dividing by 2/5, I know that I'm going to just end up multiplying by the opposite flipped fraction. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So times 5 over 2 on this side and this side. And that's going to help me get rid of this because if I multiplied this, I would get 10 over 10, which is just 1, right? So we just cross it all out. So g equals the answer to this side multiplied by 5 over 2. So that's 15 over 10. That's improper. I cannot leave it like that, so I'm going to go ahead and change it. 10 goes into 15 one whole time and 5/10, and that simplifies down to 1 1/2. Okay?